So I know you don't have a block, Richard, but I don't know if you've got a pillow that would help get this sort of thing in the back. You know, we used to do with 2 blocks, this one.
Right.
So I don't know if you can put something underneath to give you a bit of a chest opener like that. If not, you can just have the pillow or the blanket underneath you to give you that. But Nicole has a block, so she can at least start this part of it. And Nicole, you can play around with your arms if you want. Like, you can bring the arms overhead, you can bend the elbows, you can actually hold the elbows. So there's many positions to be here, or the arms can just stay down next to you. So it just depends on what kind of stretch you're needing. There's also bringing the arms open for a few breaths out to the side, trying to widen the collarbone. So that's another option. I love using these cork blocks for this pose. There's the arms overhead, there's the bending at the elbows, and then there's also just holding the elbows. So whatever you choose to do, just give yourself some time to really allow the breath to really move into the side body. And see if you can feel it moving into the upper chest and to the armpits. I didn't invite you. Another thing you can do is just take a really long exhale here and then try to match the inhale to that so that it's also very long. Gosh, I haven't done this in a long time. It feels so good to have the block under my shoulder blades. We'll just take the next minute here, whichever works for you. It's a good idea to keep the legs engaged, so if you can just imagine that your feet are pressing against the wall, a block. They can actually press against the couch. That's another nice little ledge that you can use to be in this pose. And then slowly release the pose and bring the blocks out next to you, or the pillows, whatever you've had underneath you, and come down to laying on your back. And it might feel like, you know, you can really breathe into the upper chest now. And then bend the knees, bend the feet on the floor, the knees bent. And then you can choose to have the palms next to you or under your head. And we can bend the knees into the chest, extend up to the ceiling. Exhale, bend the knees, feet on the floor. So again, the choices, there's many choices for the arms. You can bring them overhead. You can hold the elbows. You can place them under your head or down by your side. So it all depends on your level of comfort and also your desire for challenge. Nicole has the cat on the block, yes, and I had a cat next to me, but he took off, so. Because I have to worry about him biting at my feet, so. So for the last two, if you want to challenge yourself more, you can bring the arms overhead. And then release that. And because we're lying on the floor, you can bring the feet out a little bit wider from each other and just do those windshield wipers with the knees to stretch anything out of the pelvis. It's just a nice way to get a bit of a little twisting action going. And then you can use that momentum then to come over and be on your belly. And we're gonna do that Sphinx roll-up pose. We'll do that sequence we haven't done in a long time, I don't think, but where you lift the chin, you lift the abdominals off the floor into Sphinx roll-up pose. So chin towards the chest, lifting the abs up. And then you exhale, bring that belly to the floor and just breathe into the belly here. And then tuck the toes under and come into half plank. So you don't want to have the hips up too high or too low. You want to try to feel that connection from the heel bones into the sit bones. And then slowly come down and bring the elbows together. And so here's where it's interesting. You can try to bring the elbows together and start to walk them out so you can get that armpit stretch and place the head down. And it's a good idea in this pose to still have some leg engagement so you're not just dropping into the lower back. And then release the arms and bring them around next to you into locust pose as you lift the legs off. Just a little baby back bend for a breath or two. And then come around again to Sphinx pose. This is relaxed Sphinx pose. We're not doing the work yet. And then we'll go into Sphinx roll-up pose where you bring the chin to the chest, lift the abdominals off the floor, and you're on your shins. So you really press the shins and you really press the hands and the forearms into the floor. And then you bring the abdominals to the floor and really breathe into the abdominals there. And then tuck the toes under into half plank pose. Really engaging the heels into the sit bones. And then bring the knees down and walk the elbows forward or to wherever they can go. You know, you can try to slide them along the mat. Press the hands together and then bring the head down. And then on the next inhale, bring the arms next to you as you lift the feet off into Salambhasana, locust pose. And then bring the hands under the shoulders tuck the toes under, walk the hands forward into that puppy pose or heart to the floor pose, or many names. Poses have many names. And then inhale, bring the hands underneath the shoulders. We'll do, and walk the knees back. We'll do a little bit of upward facing dog. So with the hips in front of the knees, we're just gonna do the modified version to start with. So you're gonna press into those hands and lift that chest forward. So you're still using the lower body too, but we're just not making it as strong. We're trying to really press the chest through the shoulders. And then come back into big toes together, knees wide. And here, of course, you can lead with the sit bones back to the heels and find that length. And then again, inhale, come forward. Bring the pelvis in front of the knees. You can really press through the tops of the feet and the shins here. And then you lift that chest forward. You're really engaging the arms, but the inner elbows are facing each other. And then go back into big toes together. Knees wide, really extending those sit bones back to the heel. Find that length in the spine. And then come back up to all fours, and we'll add plank to this pose. So we'll tuck the toes under, come into plank pose, and we'll keep the feet there and just lift the chest to upward facing dog. And then we'll roll back into downward facing dog. And you can adjust your feet a little bit if you need to. And we'll do a few rounds of this half vinyasa where you inhale into plank, exhale there, inhale to upward facing dog, and then exhale to downward facing dog. Just make sure that you're really trying to evenly put your weight into your hands so you're not rolling on the outer part of the hands. So you can engage the inner arms. And then we'll do one more round of this. Inhale into plank. Exhale there. Inhale to upward facing. And exhale to downward facing. And then you can slowly walk the feet and the hands towards each other. And you can keep the knees bent a little bit and just shake out the head. You can hold on to the backs of the calf muscles to get a bit of stretch in the back. But just a loose stretch. We're not going too high intensity yet. And then if it feels good, you can do the hands on the feet, up the shins as you roll up the spine. It seemed like at the beginning of COVID, this felt really good to do. And then I'm gonna adjust my mat. And we'll come into the center of the mat and do some poses from here with the feet hip width we'll go through some Utkatasana and find the power in Utkatasana here. So some people call it chair, but it's also meaning powerful pose. What I like about this is when we interlock the fingers, bring the hands forward, and then go into Utkatasana. So finding that stretch through the arms, and then see if you can slowly bring the arms up. And then you allow the hands to come up to the ceiling to pull you into standing. And then release the arms down. And a couple of breaths in mountain pose, Tadasana. And then see if you can do the alternative grip. I'm not even sure I am, but that's all right. And bring the hands forward. And then go into Utkatasana, powerful pose. And then inhale those arms up while you're really using the abdominals here. And then the hands, palms really press up to towards the ceiling. It can be a little bit in front, depends on how open your shoulders are. And then release the arms next to you. And then what we'll do is we'll just go through regular Utkatasanas to then jump into some standing poses. So we'll inhale the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana, then go into Utkatasana. And then inhale, come up. You can bring the hands in front of the chest, and you can either jump or step the legs wide, and I'll do mirror image. So take the left foot toe to heel, so just slight diagonal, so you're really pressing into that outer edge, and then it works the inner thigh, and then the right heel to toe. So now you're really in between the feet, and really extend through those fingertips so we can go into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. Oh no, that's a pretty cat. It's not an orange one, it's a different one. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel. And of course you want soft knees as you do this. Then take the right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe. And as you really press through the feet for stability, and engage the legs and press through those fingertips, then you can bend that front leg into Warrior 2 pose. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel and inch them in closer, and either step or jump back into Tadasana. And a couple of breaths there. So these poses start to really build up your endurance and the heat in the body, if you need heat in the body. In Guam, you don't quite need so much heat. So now inhale the arms overhead into Urdhva Hastasana again, and then back into Utkatasana. And then come back up to Urdhva Hastasana, dropping the hands down in front of the chest, and then step or jump wide. And again, we'll take the left foot toe to heel, right foot heel to toe. This time as you bend deep, we'll go into Parsvakonasana. So you can keep the arm down, you can bring it straight up, you can do arm circles, try to work the range, or you can bring it up and over and really go for the traditional stretch from the left foot all the way out the left fingertips. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the arms wide, turn the feet into parallel with soft knees, taking the right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe. As you bend deeply, you place the forearm on the thigh. And then again, you've got a few choices for the arms. So the traditional is feeling that length from the foot out the fingertips. And slowly come up, bring the arms wide, feet turn in parallel, and then you can either inch them closer or jump back into Tadasana. A couple of breaths there. And then again, inhale the arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana, feeling that length from the feet to the fingertips. Exhale into Utkatasana. Inhale, come up. Bring the hands in front of the chest if you want to step or jump wide. And then again, right foot, left foot, toe to heel, right foot, heel to toe. This time we'll go into Utthita Trikonasana, extended triangle pose. So really stretch that right arm out. See if you can feel that length in both sides of the body. And then right hand goes to the thigh or the shin, and the top arm comes up. And so you really engage those abdominals. And if you're feeling okay in the head and the neck, you can turn the chin up towards the left shoulder, looking up to the top hand. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel. And then right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe. Really reach that left arm out to the thigh or the shin, and the top arm can come up. And really engaging those abdominals. If your neck's okay, you can turn the chin towards the shoulder, top fingertips all the way up. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. And you can inch them closer or jump back into Tadasana. And a couple of breaths there. And then again, inhale the arms overhead to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale to Utkatasana, powerful pose. Inhale, coming up. You can bring the hands in front of the chest. You can jump or step wide. And this time we're going to pivot all the way to the right side. You're going to pivot all the way around. The arms are next to you. And we'll go into Warrior One or the Lunge Warrior. It's got a couple of names. You should be pretty warmed up to this pose now. You can really bend that back leg and really sit the hips underneath the shoulder girdle, and then slowly straighten the back heel behind you. And then if you want to lift the arms up, you can bring them up, and you can look up to the ceiling if that feels doable. And then inhale, straighten the front leg, bring the arms to the side so that you can come back into feet parallel. What's nice about this is that you really use that width and extension to do your whole turning around to the other side. And then bend that front leg and bend the back knee so you can get your pelvic girdle under your shoulder girdle, and then slowly extend through that back leg. And the arms can come up. And then slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, and you can inch them closer in, or you can jump back into Tadasana in a couple of breaths there. And so while we're in the middle of the mat, just come down to your knees and we'll do Parigasana. And I think I'll go ahead and do mirror image again. So you have your hands on your hips, bring the right foot out to the side. Now, depending on your leg, you might want to lift the toes up, or if you want to, put the foot down. This is also the pose where if you have a little hyperextension in the knees, you put that block underneath it. Yeah, that's it, Nicole. That's exactly right. So that just gives you that support. And then you inhale the arms up. Exhale there, bring the palms up, drop the right hand down, left arm comes up. So it's like Parsvakonasana in this side stretch here. And you really stabilize into the shin and the foot. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the arms down, bring that leg back in. And then take the other leg out, so the left leg up. Again, you can play with where the foot needs to be. This is the nice one we used to do against the wall. We used to put the block underneath it, so there's many variations on this pose. But just make sure, most of us don't have 90-degree turnouts, so you want to have the hips as level as you can. And then inhale the arms up, exhale there. Inhale the palms up and drop the left hand down to thigh or the shin. This is when we used to have fun against the wall and we could bring the arms to the wall. That was really fun. And then inhale coming up and exhale the arms down. And you can, if you have a pillow or your blanket handy, you can have a little rest where you sit back, because we're going to do some camel poses where you can put that pillow or the blanket on your heels and sit back on that, or you can put a cushion, one of your cushions. This is where it's really nice to have a bolster. But that way you can make yourself a seat that's not so intense. But everybody's going to be different with this. And of course, if you have knee issues, you want to put stuff under your knees maybe. That's where I have those cool little jellies. So we're going to do a couple of camels and we'll have a couple of variations so we'll make it a little easier. So come up on your knees, and if you've got the blanket there, you can leave it there, but we'll just start simply with bringing the hands to the chest and then just pushing the hips out and lifting the chest. So it's like we're pressing the chest onto those thumbs. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can extend the arms back. And then you can bring the hands back into prayer and lift the chest up and come back into sitting on whatever you had to sit on. This is also where it's nice to have blocks where you can put them next to your feet if you need more space for the shoulders. And then for the second one, we'll put the hands on the lower back here, and you can try to squeeze the elbows in a little bit, but try not to distort the shoulders. You want to have openness in the front shoulders, but not squeezing too much in the back shoulders. And again, you can lift the chest up and really use the hands to push the hips forward. if you feel inclined, or you can reach the backs of your heels, you can do that, or you can just stay here. And then lift the chin to the chest and come back up and sit on whatever you've got for support. And a couple of breaths here. This is where it was nice when we could press our hips up against the wall, or where we could go in front of the wall and bring the hands back to the wall sometimes. So for the last one, you got a couple of choices. You can go to the full pose where you put your hands on the feet, or you can bring the hands into reverse prayer position behind your shoulders and do that way. So those are a couple of choices. So you want to really press the hips forward, lift the chest up, and it's dropping the head back if you have that freedom in the neck, but you don't have to. And then lift the chin to the chest. If you had the hands, release that. And then you can just come down to sitting for a couple of breaths. So you just want to make sure your feet are as close to the sit bones as they can be, and that they're parallel and your heels are there. And if you do the regular ones, you have a couple of ways. You can just go up, hold the pose, and come down. Or if you have a block, you can come up and do supported bridge for a few minutes with the block there, really lifting the chest to the chin. And of course, the other way, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can start to press up and bring the arms overhead and then exhale them down, or you can do them reversed, where you lift the hips up with the arms down, and then you exhale as you roll down, lift the arms overhead. So they each have a different feeling to the pose, but that's a nice way to do it too. And then if you're doing it with the block, just take the block away, and then we'll do a full one without the block, where you might get a little more height this way too, is just make sure you check those feet and heels. You're bringing the heels as close to the sit bones as you can, and then slowly press up, and then see if you can find your interlock with the hands, so you get the shoulders under more and you get more lift in the hips. This is where it was nice when I could bring my belt and lift your hips up for you. And then slowly roll that down. And then just lift up the legs, hold the outside of the feet into a bit of happy baby. You can do a little rocking side to side. If that feels right. And then set yourself up for Shavasana in whatever way works for you. You can do the feet up the wall. It's good to have support underneath you, feet on the couch. I have a yoga chair, so I can always take one of these little cushions, put it under my pelvis, and put my legs on the chair, so I'm getting a slight inversion here. So that's one way to do it. So it depends on your back, your body, what you might like to do here. And And then just letting the breath become soft and quiet. And then softening the tops of the toes to the backs of the toes. Softening the tops of the feet to the insteps. Softening the tops of the ankles to the backs of the ankles and the heels. The shins are softening back to the calf muscles. Tops of the knees are softening to the backs of the knees. The thighs, tops of the thighs are softening back to the backs of the thighs, the hamstrings. Thigh sockets are softening back to the sit bones. Front of the pelvis is softening to the back of the pelvis, the sacrum, the tailbone. Rib cage is softening to the back of the rib cage. Upper chest, sternum area is softening back to the shoulder blades and the space between the shoulder blades. Bicep is softening back to the tricep. Inner elbow softens to the point of the elbow. Inner forearm softens back to the back of the forearm. Inner wrist softens to the back of the wrist. And the palms are softening to the backs of the hands. Collarbone notches are softening. Your throat is softening to the back of the neck. And your face is softening back to the ears and the back of the head. And then slowly begin to deepen your breath, bringing a little bit of movement into your fingers, your toes. And maybe you need to do a bit of a stretch. And then slowly rolling to your right side and coming up to sitting. And thank you for coming, and namaste, and so nice to see you, Nicole.